eyes that maybe we don't have because we've been
Yeah.
stuck in the low time frame. But what are you looking at? What do you see?
So hopefully everyone can see my screen. And let's actually do a fresh analysis because that's what I did when I came back yesterday. So of course we've been in this range on BTC for a long time. So what do we do when we are ranging? Well, we pull the range highs and range lows. For me, this is range lows. For me, this is range highs or this one, whatever, not really that important because the more important part is the volume profile. And if you pull in the volume profile and I guess the range middle, because you've been talking about that as well, Follis, we can already see how we are approaching this resistance of the mid-range, which you mentioned. But we can also see how while I was away, the range lows acted as support. So that's great because we swept the range lows really violently on October 10th. And then we started ranging here. And I said, watch out for a retest of those range lows. And that's exactly what we did. Two retests and then a nice push higher. Now, if we switch our view a little bit to what happened after the dump, we can also treat this price action as a range. And we can see that right now we are encountering resistance from range highs and from the value area high of this range. So right now we are at a very important resistance level. And just to recap, we've got the high time frame range middle or the EQ, and we've got the low time frame range highs and the low time frame range value area high. All these three together, paired with the fact that tomorrow we have FOMC, which is, I just checked, 96.7% likely to be a rate cut, it means that, in my opinion, those news are priced in. And because we are trading at a resistance POI, I think we will more likely to get a sell-off on FOMC than a big push up, even though we will be getting rate cuts, which is bullish. However, I'm more concerned about the meeting between Trump and China's president, whose name I will not pronounce because I'm afraid of mispronouncing it, and that's on Thursday, I think. And you guys remember that all this big dump was because the tariff that Trump introduced against China. But if we get a deal after Thursday's meeting, that can be really bullish. So overall, I would say that longs are not the smartest play here just because we have so many events coming up and also because we are trading at resistance. But I can also totally see a scenario where we push past this resistance. And in that case, I would be looking at a move towards the range value area high, which is at 119K. Also, shorts would be a decent idea. Again, a little bit like playing it a little bit safer because of all the events that we have. But still, if we get a drop from the value high, like all these resistance POIs back towards like 111K, and then we push it back higher, that would be the cleanest PA. So yeah, keep an eye out for what is going to happen tomorrow on FOMC and on Thursday. But don't go giga hard into longs right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm actually going to share my screen and just to
Yep.
to support something you're saying there. And this is a chart that let me just share it here. This is a chart that I've actually shared on my channel already, but Victor mentioned that we're trading into resistance here. I just want to point out that, yeah, we have taken these two key buy-side highs in the last few days, right? And you guys know how liquidity works. This move up from 107, 108 over the last few days, we got the bullish CPI numbers last week, and we've kind of had this grind higher now. We are now approaching resistance, and I mentioned this already, but this is a composite value area. You guys know how composite value works. It is just where value builds up over time. Here we have a series of monthly volume profiles. We're coming on almost 4 full months now, and the common area of value here in all four of these is right around 115, 116K, which is unsurprisingly exactly where we are currently trading into. So I just mentioned, I drew this, I can't remember when exactly I drew this, but it was certainly a few days ago when price was down here. I just mentioned that, this slow grind up into FOMC when rate cuts are all but guaranteed, especially in light of a bullish print last Friday with CPI data, was probably pretty likely. And sure enough, that's what we've gotten now. And here we are, kind of coming on 24 hours, 26 hours away from FOMC. And where is price? Exactly where we thought it would be, grinding against resistance at what is effectively this big value area, this big composite value area, this big resistance area, this big mid-range resistance. This is an area where you can expect lots of choppy price action based on technicals alone. But taking fundamentals into account, we just have an uncertain situation at the moment with the data release tomorrow. And Victor touched on it there. He's more concerned about the meeting, the minister in the meeting, rather than the data itself. And I think, yeah, we want to see further evidence that the Fed is, continuing its dovish pivot of the last few months. We want to see, further evidence that there are going to be rate cuts down the line, and we want to see further evidence that quantitative easing is on the horizon. But yeah, I think Victor kind of touched on it or hit the nail on the head there. This is not where you want to be taking high conviction swing trades, in my opinion. This is not where you want to be entering trades and saying, okay, we're going to fly up to 125K or we're going to dump down to 100K. This is effectively an area of maximum chop, right? This is where price is balanced. Buyers and sellers have both agreed that this is an area that they're willing to get engaged with price. Therefore, we can expect chop. We have FOMC in 26 hours. The market is just going to do probably a Darth Maul candle before picking a direction. So I would say that it's a key area, Dip. Exactly. If you are in a position here, especially with FOMC tomorrow, just consider that this might be a place that you want to TP, you want to de-risk a little bit. I think we're going to get a much clearer picture of where price wants to go, probably into the end of this week and kind of into the start of next week. But for now, I think it's very difficult to pick a direction and say with any kind of conviction that BTC wants to do this or wants to do that. I think a clearer picture will present itself after FOMC. And like I've said before, we're going to get this blue arrow if we can kind of hold above this composite value area and BTC can hold these levels after FOMC. There's no point saying that we're going to do this or going to do that after FOMC, or sorry, before FOMC, because macro is still so uncertain. Monk, what are you looking at in the charts? What has your attention at the moment? What do you think of Bitcoin as things stand?
Yeah, exactly. It's in link with what you said, guys. But about the macro, I think one of the most important will be also the earnings. Let me share my screen. But we have big earnings tomorrow. 5 of the 7 magnificents are gonna give their results, their quarterly results. So it will be big for the for what can happen on global market. And with the FOMC, it will be important day tomorrow, but FOMC is already priced by the market. I think the only thing important will be the tone of voice of Powell and if it will end the quantitative tightening. If it's not clear for everyone here, quantitative tightening, it means that the central bank is reducing the money supply in the economy. So people are expecting the end of quantitative tightening and moving a little bit to quantitative easing. So tomorrow we have the speech of Powell, but we have also all the earnings. I just checked today during the market brief, but let me check again. We are talking about Alphabet. We are talking about Microsoft, Meta, and some of other big ones. So yeah, it will be a big day. I think it's even more important the earnings of this kind of companies and the FOMC because everyone knows a rate cut will happen. On on Bitcoin, it's pretty funny what just happened since the beginning of the week. We just took all the liquidity for all the members that follow my pre-market brief or what I share in my corner. We just saw different liquidation cluster here on the top of BTC on the previous high, and we just took it during the New York session. And then now when we are checking liquidation cluster, everything is in the south around 113 and 500. So I don't expect to open new orders, new position before FOMC. But I think during today or tomorrow we will have a last leg in this green candle to then target 117,500. Other big cluster, we have quarterly VWAP at this level. I'm pretty happy that we reclaim an order VWAP on Bitcoin. We reclaim an order daily VWAP, quarterly VWAP. We are targeting a weekly VWAP in the coming days. And if we reclaim and order this one, we can think about all-time high on Bitcoin, but we still need some spot. We need more liquidity on the market to reach again these levels. And yeah, I think we can still have big weeks coming. Something that's funny, it's an article from Santander that say if the crypto market going well during this week, Bitcoin will never fall under 100K. I don't think it's a very relevant article, but it's so a big stress test for crypto and global market earnings, FOMC, liquidity test. So yeah, that's my view on BTC and expecting a last leg down, taking liquidity. Maybe I can show you very quickly. This is the last liquidity I'm targeting here, 113 and 600, and then go higher. Market maker are not moving right now, and yeah, we are still in a good environment since the big flush of the last Friday. So I think we can still have a great big green candle on our market. And even what we discussed today about Mega is on Monad, it's great to see that our ecosystem want to invest in new technology, in new project, and still do ICOs. So we are not dead right now. So it's just another great point that we can underline. That's it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate that perspective, Monk. And I'll come back around to you maybe when we talk about altcoins in a few minutes. But for now, Rouge, what are you looking at in the Bitcoin chart? What has your attention? What liquidity levels are you looking for? What support resistance levels are you looking for? How are you viewing the current BTC price action?
Let me share a chart very quickly. Fairly simple on Bitcoin at the moment. As for low time frame, we will talk about low time frame. So basically, the range that we're trading in, the big wick that we're trading in since the leverage flush for me. So basically, from 116 to 100K. For me, this is all a big range. As long as we are trading inside of this mess, everything can kind of play out. However, the real decision making, and this is something I've been vocal on in my channel and in the crypto chat, is really simple. So sitting around 117 here, the GP, the algo pocket between ATH and the leveraged liquidation low, you have macro high time frame algo pocket also lining with, oh, I didn't chart it on the TPO, but so many levels, daily, monthly levels in here, daily POC, monthly POC in here. So you also have what John Z calls ice line here, basically. Ice line 118 somewhere here. Ice line here. So this is kind of the ultimate test, regardless of what FOMC does or does not. The test is here. It's inside of this area. Slightly, like you start at 116,500, you push it 1,000 higher. If we accept above and we maintain, I do see us going back above 120. If we fail to reclaim this area with force and confidence, I am 100% sure we will eventually at least claim this. Because this whole move up to begin with is for me very inefficient in the sense that, firstly, look at the swapping here. Disgusting price action, no buying intent, price is just hugging VWAP, and once you started approaching liquidation levels, you just have squeeze, and no more buying. Just like today, look, let's have a look at the chart today. This is the footprint chart, okay? Most of you do not trade order flow in Chroma, and this is sort of a shame because it gives you so much information. Look what happens here, okay? Green candle, negative open interest. Green candle, negative open interest. Green candle, negative open interest. Green candle, finally some positive interest. What does it mean? It means that all this build up, so all the push from today, okay, the whole push from today is shorts being kicked out of the market. It's a liquidation cascade for shorts. And once you finally have buyers stepping in, look the amount of stupidity and retardedness where they buy. The excess is at the top of the candle. This is Bybit inverse, by the way. So the excess is on the top of the candle. So buyers showed up to long a breakout. And they got punished instantly afterwards. Like the next candle is just pure like punishment. What I mean by that is, for the moment, this whole move up was staircasing up plus short squeeze. You do not have like real massive buying intent so far. Plus, what I really dislike, and this is what we've been seeing a lot lately, Bybit didn't take the weekend lows, okay? So you took part of the low here on Bybit, okay? Then price came and retested this low, but it didn't take it on Bybit. However, what it did do, and the reason we bounced, is because Coinbase Spot did take the low, okay? Once again, the whole move up was fueled by something sort of inefficient, and Binance, I do not pay attention to the Binance chart, but it's the same. Binance didn't take the low either. It even went further, like it didn't even come close like Bybit did here. So what this is making me think, just like every time, that this is some kind of shenanigans that's happening. You cause people to FOMO, you build buy-side liquidity, and once you have exhausted sell-side liquidity, just like we are doing now, punishment is going to come the other way around. And I think that if bulls or market has the fuel to come up here, punishment will come. That's my view. However, if we don't, I see us trade very far up again, and we are just going to leave this inefficiency in the dust like we did here, like what kickstarted this whole run to ATH here, and just like what happened, I think it was here, yeah, in July. In July, you had this mess. You had this mess as well. Price didn't take any lows, and you had a run to ATH. Despite price being very inefficient and leaving away weekend lows in here, like Sunday, Saturday. And this is something that really upset me, and this is why I shorted the whole run to ATH and got absolutely destroyed in July. I didn't get destroyed on this run up to ATH, because I learned my lesson. Now I am looking for a reason to be trading towards here, because I want this gone for healthy upside. This is now we can pretty much forget everything here and just continue to run up. Again, I'm not an oracle, I'm just stating what I want to see. I want here an elevator down, because I personally do think it makes no sense to go to ATH again. Even though, yeah, you leverage flushed everybody. Okay, you cleansed the market. But retards got smoked again here, they got smoked again here. And why not smoke them another time? So I have no interest in building up a swing long. I had interest in building a intraday swing long if everything here was cleansed. This was the idea when I longed, I think was last Thursday, when we caught some of the weekend lows here. But now I don't see big upside until this mess is cleansed. And you can even add here, but this is far-fetched. I'm pretty sure that if we do tag these two bad boys, we're going to trade sub 100k for a moment. This is not what you want to see. At least I would rather have us keep trading towards sorry, not towards, but above 100k at the moment. And again, the plans is still the same as last time. If we go above ATH, my plan is just like I did for last ATH here. If we have nice success at the top, I'm going to short it regardless of ATH or not. I had the right idea here. Again, my issue is with taking profit because I like to lock profits too quickly. It's my issue, but the overall idea was right. Here you had a massive take profit at 125. It got tagged during a weekend. New York came up. You trapped so many longs in here, and price just rotated. I think the news just accelerated the thing a bit, but yeah, that's my view on the market anyways at that point. And I recommend any Chroma member who wants to learn order flow to book a one-to-one with me so I can walk you through MMT, because it gives you so much more information just rather than just looking at naked charts or charts with a few indicators.
I agree for what it's worth. Yeah, and maybe I need to book one of those with you. One-on-one mentorships are, of course, included as part of every subscription. For anyone who is on this call and doesn't know, you don't need to pay anything additional. They are not paywalled behind another payment. They're included as part of your subscription. Appreciate that, Rouge. Might circle back to you when we start talking about FOMC and trading or positioning with FOMC in mind later in the conversation. But I want to go to Luke now. Luke, what are you looking at in the charts at the moment? What has your attention? I guess, yeah, we can kind of lead into FOMC a little bit and kind of how you're positioning with FOMC just around the corner. What are you looking for in the charts?
Yep. Okay. I will share my screen as well. Hopefully it all works okay, even with the slightly dodgy internet. So yeah, for myself, I mean, it's kind of similar to what you guys are thinking as well. I've been looking at the volume profile, the value area of the current range that we're in, and also, as you were mentioning, Follis, before, like the composite profile that we have from the last few months. So a couple of interesting things for me. I mainly now I'm charting spot. So I use Coinbase Spot. I find that the levels that I'm getting and the volume, especially that I get on that, is generally more accurate for myself when I'm trading it, rather than on perps, because it's so fragmented across exchanges now, that I feel that I can't trust it quite as much as when I'm just looking at Spot as we are here. So one of the main things I'm kind of looking at for tomorrow as we go into FOMC, I do still get the feeling that the highs that we've put in so far this week can get taken. If they are, I would be looking around about 118k. I feel like we're going to get a pretty big Darth Maul candle tomorrow, regardless of what happens. Ideally for myself, it would be a push up on rate cuts, and then that would be a move that you could then look to fade back down to take out some pretty poor lows that we've got from today, and just a series of fairly poor lows from the last week or so, because we have just seen that we've almost come up without really any kind of like significant correction throughout this whole grind up that we've had since the 23rd. I am still coming at these charts a little bit fresh right now. I'm still getting back into the market a little bit after being away for so long. But for myself, if we do get a spike up on FOMC tomorrow, I would be looking to short again, at the very least, to correct any candle that occurs during FOMC. So if we are to just get a spike up and then BART back down kind of thing, I think that would be nice. If that were to happen and we go into the start of a new month at that stage, I would be then targeting basically what would then be the previous month POC, which is around 111k at the moment. The other interesting thing that we've had recently is that for the last few months, we have been the point of control and the volume, the majority of volume that we've been getting has been shifting lower and lower over the past few months. So we start up here at 118K, the following month down at 116,500, then we're at 115,700, now we're at 111K. So that would signify that there's a little bit more like sell pressure going on, that we are leaning at least short term to be looking at short positions a little bit more than longs at this stage. However, I do still feel that we get new highs, possibly in November into December, and if we are to get a move down, 111 like would basically be a target for a short, but as a few of you guys have said already, targeting some of the lows that we have from down here, filling in maybe a little bit more of the wick that we have on some of the perps exchanges. I'm not too concerned about that, because again, I'm looking at spot, and on spot we did cascade down into the VWAP from basically back towards our April lows. So this whole run up that we've had, we bounced off of the VWAP there on spot, came back into what was the previous month point of control, then came down, took the lows, and found some nice support basically on the only imbalance that we've got, the only like daily gap that we've got on the entire chart. Unless you're looking way back, we have one here that was dipped into very briefly. Then everything that's been since then has all been cleaned up quite nicely. So for me, like the lows that we have at the moment should hold. I would be looking at, again, being a buyer if we do drop below 111, or if we do drop to around that region. And the other thing I'm very interested in is if we do go down there, this whole range point of control, I would imagine we'll see a shifting of the POC. So if we actually see how the developing POC for this whole range, it has just been at 118 or 117,500 for the entire range since we made those first all-time highs back in July. The point of control has remained there for the whole time. So if we do get one more push up towards those highs, if we can reject down to it, start getting some volume around 111, see that point of control shift down, at that stage you're likely to repel away from it, either to make new lows again or to get a nice move up towards like back towards all-time highs. So that's kind of what I'm looking for over the next few days. It's not going to take, it will take a day or two basically for enough volume to accumulate here for that to become the new POC. And then that would, for me, establish a nice range between that 111, 110, 800 to 118K that we could look to be trading. So longs around here and shorts here. But yeah, for me, still looking at, if there is to be one more push around FOMC, we'll be looking to short that with kind of minimum target being like 111. Other than that, today's price action's been, I guess, interesting. Not a lot has happened, I guess. We just had this. Was there news today? Again, I'm not even aware. There must have been some kind of news today, because this was an hour before New York Open, right? When we started moving, when we got this dump from earlier. But I was short from yesterday. I got stopped out at that break even today. I have now gone short again since we came up towards these highs. So I am, yeah, actively looking at taking short positions, but taking profit quickly at the moment, because I am aware that tomorrow, I think we quite likely see at least some kind of spike up towards that 118K that you could then look to fade. The other interesting thing for myself, just quickly, briefly go over onto Ethereum. I think Ethereum would be a similar situation. I'd look to be a buyer below 4K again here. I think the ETH BTC chart is looking rather decent. And the other reason why I'm not overly keen on longs at the moment is we've gapped up quite significantly on the NASDAQ, and this is going to get run, I would imagine, after we get the FOMC print tomorrow, which probably will just give us a nice spike to create a new all-time high, but then we're looking at a big void below to start taking out some of the liquidity that's been generated over the last few days. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. I don't have too much more to add at this stage, I don't think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate that,
yeah, I
Luke.
think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
everything.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. We'll circle around in a few minutes. Someone is asking about extended cycles, so maybe we can talk about that towards the end of the discussion. But oh, I see Rouge has dropped off. I actually wanted to ask him how he was positioning for FOMC, but I guess I can kind of move the conversation on to altcoins. Luke just talked about Ethereum there. We were talking about coins like Mavia in the chat just now. Victor, what alts have your attention at the moment, if any? I know you just come back from a little break. Are there any alts on your watch list in particular that you're trading? Obviously, we had a ZEC. Zcoin was a big one that a lot of guys have been trading in the server successfully over the last few weeks. It's like 6x in a month or something like that, or 10x in 2 months, something crazy like that. I know a lot of guys were trading World Liberty Fi. There were rumors that CZ was going to join the World Liberty Fi team as an advisor based on the fact that he got pardoned by Trump and a few other rumors that had been circulating. So it's definitely an interesting point in the markets right now for alts, even though some of them look like absolute dog shit, I won't lie. So what alts have your attention for good or bad reasons?
Yeah, I mean, I said this before I left, but I just want to reiterate it. The crash on October 10th showed, or at least proved to me, that something that I've been thinking about previously is that most altcoins don't matter. They are just vaporwave, and the fact that they were able to dump so much just because market makers pull their liquidity means that no one or just very few people are actually trading them. So my attention will be until the end of the cycle only on the large market caps such as ETH, Sol, BNB, and XRP. I've actually got limits on XRP at $2, and BNB is also incredibly strong, but not something that I want to get positioned in right now. And yeah, Sol and ETH are not very interesting for me right now, and I'm not even looking at anything else, because if you want to look at something else, you have to be great at playing the narrative, something that Perdo is doing, something that Jedi is doing, but it's not something that I'm great at. So while I do know about all the stuff about WLFI and CZ potentially joining as an advisor or whatever, I know about that stuff, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to also take action on it. So that's why I'm not looking at those smaller coins, the possible narratives, just because it's not my cup of tea and it's not my area of expertise. I don't want to get involved in that just to lose money because, well, I'm not an expert in that. So yeah, my eyes are just on XRP at the moment. I have limits at $2.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, XRP has always been a bit of a cursed coin for me. I don't think I've ever had too much success trading it. I remember the last time it was really on my radar was when didn't it put in a new all-time high a few months ago and was kind of trading pretty nicely. It kind of reminds me a little bit of BNB in terms of how just how dominating and how strong it was for several months. Although I think that capital has kind of started to rotate to other coins, at least kind of in this quarter and maybe at the end of last quarter as well. But yeah, BNB seems to be that I guess one of the majors that is attracting a ton of mindshare and a ton of capital at the moment, in the same way that Solana has been and Ethereum has been at various points this year. Monk, what alts are on your watch list right now? What alts have your attention for good or bad reasons?
I'm taking more like AI narrative because of all what's happening on the market right now. Even if I don't trade so much altcoins, I like to see where I can put my money in order to do like easy X. And even with what's happened on the Black Friday, on the 10th of Friday, I think we can still have great opportunity on altcoins, even more like when you are following Jedi and Perdu because they're doing this everyday scanning of all icons, but I'm still focusing on Corcondium. It's one of the trades that I share in the tracker. And also on AI, everything that link with AI, we had a new project called for Android 2. It's nice. It's like Asian AI that can pay through different app and is interesting. And I'm also checking AXBT or all these coins that related to artificial intelligence and how we can leverage agent in order to have more link between all the DeFi application. So right now I'm focused on AI narrative and also checking all privacy coin because this is a hot narrative right now. I don't have any insight, but it's crazy how this narrative and this ecosystem had a big year since the beginning of the year. We have big pump on every privacy coin, so maybe have one more look inside of this ecosystem and check which one, which coin will be the next one. And also in infra, I think infrastructure, crypto infrastructure are very interesting, and we can do some crypto picking to add some spot. I think leverage can be very dangerous with all what's happened, but we cannot. I don't like to say this, but I think even with what's happened, I don't think we can have this same event with market maker don't doing their job and protecting altcoins and don't doing their job with liquidity. So yeah, I don't share too much altcoins, but I am if I have to do some recommendation, it will be around infra, artificial intelligence for sure. And yeah, that's it for me on altcoins.
You saw obviously virtual and I think even like AIXBT and Griff AIN, AI 16Z. They were really pumping. I guess like last week, a lot of them like virtual looked crazy. It was something like 5x off the lows or something from the capitulation low of
Yeah.
10th of October. Yeah, crazy coins.
Yeah, it's crazy. And even when I'm checking behind the scenes, the liquidity is crazy, like the amount of short that we can have in these tokens. So maybe I will take the time this week to share all these coin, what they are doing as a fundamental aspect, and how can we trade with the members. So I think we can, yeah, we can have something very interesting with the couple of months, couple of weeks that's coming. And with all the hype we have on traditional finance, we can have some good X.
Yeah, there's another coin that I'm just looking at here. I shared a chart in the chat, Mavia. This thing went like 3.5x in just a couple of days and now is dumped minus 50%. Feels like there is a cabal coin or a scam coin every few days now. We had Mix a few weeks ago. We had M. Trying to think of others. We had uh, what was it? Co AI, COAI, that coin that actually had to get delisted from a bunch of exchanges because it was such scammy price action. Feels like there's been a bunch of them recently that have really been, I guess, heavily manipulated is one way of putting it. But yeah, scamming people both sides of the order books is another way of putting it.
Yeah, sure.
Desync? Yeah.
Yeah, do you think like it's more dangerous now than the previous cycle, like to invest in altcoins or to have like this kind of charts?
So for sure, something that I've mentioned time and time again is that previous cycles rewarded uh blind holding and just buying altcoins and then just holding them until they eventually pumped, because eventually liquidity would hit your alt, capital rotation would hit your alt, and you would get a pump, right? And that didn't really matter what shitty alt you held. Eventually something would eventually everything kind of did get a pump, did get some upside. This cycle, for a variety of reasons, because of how capital rotations have worked this cycle, right? We have ETFs, we have Sailor, we have DATs, we have treasury companies. They're buying Bitcoin and maybe a few majors, and then they're rotating that money into cash. They're not buying shitcoins. That money isn't rotating down further into the ecosystem, right? So there's a lot of capital being parked at the top that isn't necessarily permeating through the rest of the ecosystem, and that has created a problem when it comes to liquidity. There's also the issue of ticker dilation, right? We have how many, like with this, with pump fun and the ease with which people can create tickers now. There has been definitely an issue with regards to ticker dilution and not enough liquidity to go around. And I think that there's been a variety of reasons, but those are the two main ones that have contributed to this need to be far more selective when it comes to allocating your capital this cycle. And that's not to say that altcoins have been untradeable or that you haven't been able to make good money trading alts, but you just needed you've had this very strict requirement about being far more skilled when it comes to capital allocation this cycle if you want to make money. And I think there's a lot of guys. I was just talking to someone last night about this. There's a lot of like OGs in the space. I would say there's a lot of senior traders who made great money in 2017, who made great money in 2021, who I don't think have made a single dollar this cycle, just based on how predatory it's been, how alts just haven't given the same kind of upside opportunities that we've seen in previous cycles. And even like the Bitcoin price action has been quite manipulated this cycle. I think we've seen a lot of fake out price action, a lot of manipulated price action. It seems that even more than alts this cycle, Bitcoin has sometimes been almost the worst offender when it comes to, like stuff like fake outs, out of a range, for instance, or running liquidity below an obvious support or resistance point and then reversing. And that happens all the time. I mean, that's how liquidity concepts work. But I feel like particularly during the summertime this year, summertime last year, it was crazy predatory. And very easy to get stopped out of positions before they run in your favor, for example. I don't know. Maybe that's when we go to Luke on. Luke, how have you found trading this cycle in general, especially compared to? I know you started in, was it 2019 or 2018? So you've been around for a while. So maybe you have some thoughts on how your trading has had to adapt this cycle, let's say 2023, 2024, 2025, compared to the years before.
Yeah, so for myself, I've been trading, or I've been in crypto and interested in trading at the very least since 2017. When I really started taking it seriously would have been that first bear market afterwards. So 2018, 2019, started like learning a lot about TA and getting a lot more into trading then. This cycle has been, I'd say, much more of a trader's market. So if you are just simply day trading and you're working purely on the technicals, I think it's been relatively good. The issue that we've had is it's not been moving as quickly as previous cycles. So although we're trading like sometimes multiple thousands of dollars every day because of the way the price is, the movement's been a lot slower, and the percentages that you can get out of trading haven't been so much on Bitcoin. And it's also been following the macro a lot more this cycle. So what the Nasdaq's doing, what the S&P 500's doing. So a lot of my trading has shifted over onto just trading the NQ. So from a day trading perspective, I'm not looking too much at Bitcoin unless there's something really clear that comes up, and I'll maybe take like a few trades a week on Bitcoin, whereas I used to probably take multiple trades a day when I was trading Bitcoin. Now it's much more, I will scalp and day trade the Nasdaq, and then when something like a really clear opportunity comes up on BTC, then I'll take that. With altcoins, I mean, you were just asking like what altcoins that we're looking at for like the coming weeks or something. My answer to that is just like nothing, because there's a couple. Well, I guess there's a couple. Like if you look at like Tau or Virtuals, like you mentioned a minute ago, coins that created new lows and have now started trading above the highs from before the crash the other week. I think that's shown some decent strength, and it shows that there's still life in those tokens. But I think we're still quite a long way off seeing any kind of momentum that's going to be tradable when it comes to altcoins. The vast majority of them, anything that's made a new all-time low, which is most of them, just not going to be interesting to me until they start getting any kind of momentum again, because what's the point? I know on paper the risk to reward looks great when you're like, okay, well, it's either zero or moon, but so far we haven't had anything that's really had any kind of a run or any second cycle. If you look at the likes of you look at Tier, you look at a bunch of these tokens that were created earlier in the at the start of the bull run, where they had a really good run initially, and in previous cycles you'd always expect them to have a second run, one that would take out the highs once again towards the end of the cycle, but we're not seeing any evidence that that's going to happen this time round. It's like a token will be released, it will have a run, and then it basically, as the vast majority of them are doing right now, it's just trending down to zero and just going into like irrelevance, basically, disappearing into the vast like abyss of tokens that are like created every day, because I think we're looking at like 300,000 tokens created every day right now, and it has been like that for the majority of this cycle. I think we're also going into a situation now where a bit like we're basically at that point where the whole like tokenize everything kind of thing is starting to take off. So we're getting prediction markets, we're getting all of these things. Like I know Coinbase has just today launched a DEX where they've got prediction markets involved. You can basically trade any asset. There's going to be a few more DEXs that start. You'll be able to trade futures on any contract across the world, create any contract to be able to trade perps on those. So I think it's going to be very difficult for, I think it's in general very difficult for altcoins to gain any kind of momentum. So yeah, that's why I'm only looking at ones that have some kind of momentum in order to be traded. But yeah, that's kind of the cycle really. I've shifted more over to the equities. I attempted the tried and tested method of buy and hold with a little bit of margin on some altcoins with the expectation that you'd eventually get a return, and I got smoked. So like basically anyone that had any kind of margin accounts with altcoins in them, they're gone now because of what happened the other day. Even if you're on really low leverage, they're basically gone. So yeah, not so much looking at altcoins. It was only a small amount of my portfolio, and it's not something I'm trading all the time, but it's like those multipliers. Like altcoins used to be the multipliers, the things that you could trade Bitcoin like on a daily basis, and then you would start to gradually accumulate alts that would be the multipliers as you get to the end of the cycle. I'm not really seeing that happening at the moment. So yeah, just focusing on technical trading, and if we do start to get some momentum again, then yeah, alts become interesting, but only the ones that have momentum behind them already.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I think something we might try and organize in the coming weeks is maybe to do like a sit down 1 hour interview with you and just kind of run through your trading style, because it's fascinating. I think that so many of the things you talk about there are aspects of my own trading that really resonate, but then it also seems that there are things that you do and that you touch on that are completely novel to me. And I think that probably the same can go for our members, whereby there's a lot of things that maybe you're speaking to that would really that are very common to the kind of crypto trading experience of the last few years, and maybe some things that are a bit more unique. So I'd love to sit down with you for an hour and kind of pick your brain, talk through your trading journey, and maybe what kind of how you've arrived at where you are today, and your current trading style and all those good things. Because I think that'd be a really interesting one for our members to talk through. But as we come to the last 5 minutes here, I maybe just want to go to both Monk and Luke here, and just kind of say, I mean, obviously we have FOMC in 1 day, in like 25 hours. We then have a kind of we have this situation where rate cuts are all but guaranteed. It's a 96 or 97% chance. We have potential quantitative easing on the horizon. Like Bitcoin doesn't look that bad. A lot of alts look pretty terrible, but Bitcoin doesn't look that bad. Commodities, gold and silver, kind of pulling back a little bit. Equities looks fantastic and have looked fantastic for a number of months now, pretty much the whole year, in fact. And yeah, we just have the Fed continuing its dovish pivot, or at least that's what we're kind of hoping for when the meeting minutes are released. Dollar has been pretty weak. Some bounces here and there, but still by and large trending down. I mean, it's an uncertain situation for crypto for sure, but I think the bullish arguments certainly outweigh the bearish ones, at least from where I'm looking at things. I think that for me, the big question mark for me is altcoins, because I just feel like so many of them are going to disappoint traders and investors when it comes to returns, especially when compared to BTC. But in my opinion, BTC looks great. Like I'm pretty like I think it's pretty easy to be bullish on crypto here, even if a lot of alts I do not think are going to benefit from BTC upside into the rest of the year. I'm just curious, like how are you guys viewing the rest of the year? Obviously, we're coming very close to November now, so there's really only 2 months left of the year. We're kind of in the last stretch, November and December, the last stretch of the year, the last 2/3 of Q4. So I'm just wondering, like, how are you viewing the crypto market? Are you positioning for anything in particular? What are you hoping to see as we approach December and kind of run into the new year? That one's open, but I'm going to go to Monk first because you have you're unmuted.
Sure. So yeah, my view didn't change from what I shared in every roundtable. I'm still bullish for Q4. I'm still expecting some big change for the Fed and what will be the next strategy for 2026. And yeah, I'm expecting like I know that we are in a bubble. When you check our charts, you can check the gold, you can check S&P 100, Nasdaq, crypto. Everything did all-time high, so we are in a big bubble, but we can stay in this bubble a long time before we have a major pullback. So I think we will finish the year pretty well. We already had our black swan that just liquidate big traders. So right now, I think we can still have a big push during November, and I will cut most of my position at the beginning of December, my spot allocation, and also my trade, and then I will start fresh in beginning of next year's, and it will be a next chapter with a new chairman. What will be the next strategy of Trump? Because it will, if everything goes well, it will end all the war in the world. So we will be more focused on indexes and even more on financial stability. So I think we have a lot of green signer. If I have to talk about a red signer, it's more about a mortgage that raised a lot. Also, everything in all-time high, as I said, and also the stability of regional banks. That's not like a good signal and more European focus. Europe and France are in bad position. It's not relative to all the markets, but it's an impact also on what's happening in part of the world. So the other red signer would be the relation between China and the US. So yeah, I'm still positive for the end of the year. We already have our black swan, and now focus on cutting my position step by step, and hope we have hype in crypto in order that we can sell and short on the next hype.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. Same question to you, Luke. How are you viewing the next 2 months with regards to crypto in general?
Cool. Yeah, I'm just going to do a screen share again quickly. So yeah, I'm still pretty bullish for the rest of the year. I think that there's a lot going on. Like we know the rate cuts are happening. We're getting choppy price action because of that. Also, I think there's a pretty big narrative is the midterm elections are coming up. So I would imagine Trump is going to want things to be overly positive for that as we go into November when we get the midterms. So I'm thinking resolution on the China trade deals. I think a lot of this is just political posturing and creating issues when there need to be some kind of issue in order to affect the market, because we know how much he likes to do that. I think a lot of the pullbacks that we're seeing are almost like forced pullbacks in order to generate liquidity, in order to keep things going higher overall. I initially had been planning. I mean, I made a video back in like the 1st of January 2024, saying that for this cycle, I'm looking at October 2025 as being the end. I'm looking at altcoins ending up around like 2.4K, for the total market ending up around about 2.4K, 2.4 trillion, and the total market cap ending up somewhere around about that 7 trillion mark. For like when you start to put Bitcoin into it as well. Now that would be a bit of a stretch at this stage over the next few months, but there's no reason why we can't have a big run as we go into the end of the cycle. It just hasn't really happened yet. We're just slowly kind of creeping up, making new all-time highs and then pulling back again. When you actually look at the total market cap and the chart for it, it looks good. Every time we've had a big run up, it's been fully corrected. Then we've had another run up, fully corrected. We've had another run up, and any imbalance has been like created on this run. The dump that we had the other week has just corrected all of that imbalance that we had from the latest run to new all-time highs. So I think it's been fairly technical. We're getting these smaller corrections as we go higher from a percentage perspective. And I think that's enough to give us another launch up towards new highs. So the idea of like an elongated cycle that carries on a little bit longer than we would usually expect makes sense. I'm still very wary of the fact that if we're to look at like where price is, if I take this off of log, where price is when you look at previous cycle highs, it could be like when you're looking linear, this could be a pretty significant top, and we could be looking at a bigger drop. But I still feel that there's more left for this. I'm not trading it as cycles anymore. I mean, I had been with old positions, and like I say, I've been smoked on those, so that's no longer relevant to me. I'm just going to be trading it and day trading it again, and seeing if we do get some momentum to get back into altcoins and things again. But yeah, overall, I think things are still looking good. I think there's enough like left in the tank for another push higher, both on equities and within crypto. I think obviously afterwards we're going to get a pretty significant bear market across the board, but yeah, I think for me there's still enough left in this to go for one big push higher, and just have that run that creates the AI bubble, that creates another bubble within crypto, because we're not really seeing that yet. We're not bringing too much new liquidity into the space. I feel that a lot of people trading this right now are like guys like us that have been here for a while. So new liquidity will eventually emerge. Whether that's trading Bitcoin or some other narrative that comes around, I'm not too sure. But yeah, overall still feeling that there's another like few months left in this.
Yeah, it really does feel like a hot ball of money being passed around between crypto natives, and very little new capital coming in, especially when compared to 2021 or previous cycles. But yeah, no, that's a good point, and maybe something we'll discuss on the next roundtable. The idea of an extended cycle is definitely something that interests me and something that I've put a bit of thought into. But maybe that's a conversation for another day as we come up to 5 past the hour. So I want to say a big thank you to Luke, did very well on his very first roundtable. Big thanks as well to Monk, to Victor, to Jedi and Rouge, and all of our other panelists. Big thank you as well to everyone who joined and gave us your time. I always appreciate you guys tuning in to listen to us talk about the charts. And yeah, we will be back next week for another roundtable. I think as well, something we're going to try and do more is I might try and put out a post on like a Monday and try and get some feedback from you guys as to what you would actually like us to discuss. I like the idea of the discussions being, structured, but I don't want to structure it about things that necessarily interest me and that I want to talk about it, because, I'll yap about anything, but, we really want to dive into what you guys want to hear us talk about and topics that really interest you, because at the end of the day, these discussions are mostly for you guys. So might do that next week, might put out a post on Monday, but we will pick things up. So we will pick things up for that. So yeah, this was the last roundtable of October. Appreciate you guys all joining, and we will see you in the server. Enjoy the rest of your day and catch you soon. Bye bye.